Hey there everyone, my name is Vilash. Welcome back to another episode of Spring Security tutorial series. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about something really basic. So again, we are going to talk about foundation. And before we proceed further, I want to build that particular foundation. And then only we'll start talking about some advanced stuff. So again, in this particular session, we are going to talk about how to set up the basic authentication and the form-based login with our Spring MVC application. The topic is very simple. It's gonna take 3 or 4 lines of code to make it happen. But again, the foundation, how the things basically works behind the scene, how we can correlate a bunch of things together. That's what I'm gonna focus in this particular session. So make sure you go through this, understand this. Let me know if you are having any problem. And by the end of the session, I feel that you will have that foundation that I am hoping that you should have. All right, so let's go ahead and let's learn some simple stuff in this particular episode. Simple but necessary to understand the Spring security in the coming days, right? So let's get prepared. Alright guys, before we get started with this particular episode, sometime while I was editing this particular episode, I feel that my screen was lagging behind for 1 second or 2 seconds sometime in some particular portion of this particular video. So I hope you understand this is a live video and these particular things are not in my control. So apologies if sometime you feel that the video is lagging a little bit, maybe you even cannot catch it, but I feel while I was editing it in for 2 or 3 minutes I found that, okay, in the entire video. So hopefully you are going to manage with that. So let's get started with the session. So anyhow, this is the project we used to work, Spring Security Evening. And yeah, so basically this is the login page, the default page that Spring Security was providing us. Okay, so it looks like yesterday we have done a configuration, and this configuration we have done here, and maybe we have just created one user yesterday, and also I have not told clearly, like, I mean, this is fine, you guys can understand. We are doing an in-memory authentication and we are creating a user, and basically whenever we create a user, we need the username, password, and roles, the 3 things. And also let me tell you, we can add more roles to an user. Let's say this user is also an admin, is also a user. This is also possible, but I will be anyhow coming back to that. Okay, so yesterday we have created a user called Ayur, okay, and we have given him a role called admin. Okay, maybe we can create one more user and we can do some testing. And how many endpoints we have? If I'll go to the controllers, here we got 3 endpoints. Okay. All right. So can anybody explain me what is the difference between this endpoint and this endpoint? Is there any difference, any visible differences here? If you talk about this endpoint and this endpoint?
Yes. So in first, where we are using annotation get mapping, in return it's got this hello world. So this going to search JSP file, going to say view resolver. Here we have response body, so not going to search this page what we are searching and returning.
Yeah. So this is just kind of a REST response, isn't it? Because we have added response body. So this one will be returned directly to the response. I mean, it will be written directly to the response itself. So basically, this is not going to use the view resolver, but this is going to use the view resolver because here we are writing get mapping. We do not have any response body on top of it. So the Spring will think that, okay, so there should be a page available called hello world. So let me use the view resolver that you have configured here in the configuration file. And maybe, the view resolver will give you back this particular page if available. If not, it will throw you an 404 not found page. But here add response body is going to work in a different way. Basically, if you are going to create a new controller, and let's say my REST controller. Okay, so now right here, let me add controller. Okay, All right, so I have a controller here. Imagine that I have a URL public string, let's say greet, okay, and it is going to greet someone. So I am going to take this as URL, let's say get mapping, and let's say right now I want the URL to be, let's say, greet, and basically tell me what is your name. So let's say your name. So basically, right now I can capture this your name that will be coming in my URL. So I'll be capturing it by using path variable. I also told you about this path variable. Then maybe the path variable ID is going to be your name. I can place it here, and whatever the URL will be entered here, that data anyhow I'll be capturing here and will store it with a variable. Maybe I'll say string your name, and maybe right now I can simply return the string here. I can say return good evening, and then I can concatenate whatever the username I'm capturing here, just right here. Okay, cool. So right now, this is what we have a get mapping, but this will not work because whenever you are going to hit this URL, it will think that, okay, there is a page here called good evening, then whatever the username is going to be. But no, we want it to be available as a response. So I can either use response body here, or if I want all my methods that I am having inside this controller, if I want to have all these methods returned things like this inside the response, then I can put this particular response body right on the top of the classes. So all the methods that I'll be having inside the REST controller right now, I don't need to specify response body on each method, on top of each method. But one more thing, why to write these two things, why to write controller and response body together? We can use one more annotation here called REST controller, because REST controller, if you hover over here, it is having response body inbuilt. If you see here, controller and response body. So without using that two annotation, we can use this annotation directly. Okay, so now my REST controller is ready. So basically what I want, I got another endpoint here. Can I copy this endpoint? Maybe I can go to my security config. Let me do control S for right now. Let me wait for some time. My browser need to, my code need to be redeployed. And once this kicks in, well, there you go, it's completed. Right now, if I will clean this, I can basically go to my REST controller. What is my URL? Right now, I can use this Safari browser for today. I can expand this. Okay, now can I go for the username and password that I have created? Ayur and Ayur123, do login. Not now. Yeah, it's saying hello from Selenium Express. Now can I test my new URL that is called greet? Let me say greet/anu, and there you go. It's saying good evening Anu. Okay, can I change one more? Can I say greet /Felix? And there you go. Good evening Felix, right? So it's working fine. So now can I use just logout? Okay, so now it's saying logout. So right now you can see, guys, if I will be hitting this REST endpoints that I have created, this is my REST endpoint, right? So here I am getting a form, the login form. Notice that this is my REST endpoint /greet, and if I'm saying greet / let's say maybe Mayur, enter. Now see, first it is throwing me this form, and this is a form based login, isn't it? So I can enter the username and password and I can log in here, no problem. But if I will take the same URL, okay, and if I'll go to the Postman, and here can I open a new tab? I can enter the URL here. It's going to be a GET request because I have written GET mapping there. In my REST controller, it's a GET mapping. So right now here, if I'm going to say send, now here you go. It will throw you a 401 unauthorized. You can see the status here, 401 unauthorized. because this request has not been authorized. And as we have added Spring Security to our project, as we have added the filter chain, if you go to your configuration class, and as we have added this guy right here, and this is right now taking care of the security stuff, is creating a filter. And basically I also told you how many filters it is creating. It's creating a lot of filters. If you're going to go to the console, you can see right now this is the call stack, is not an error. So now these are the filters that we are having. Previously, whenever I was seeing a form, this filter was an action, username password authentication filter, and this filter was helping me to show me that particular login form that I used to have. And I got one more filter here. You can see basic authentication filter. So by default, Spring Security will be activating these two kind of authentication for you guys. Let's say if you are just adding Spring Security right now, by default, Spring Security is activating the basic authentication filter and username password authentication filter. These two filters are activated. That's why whenever you are going to here, and let's say first of all, let me do logout. Okay, whenever you do log out right now, let's say I'm hitting that REST URL that I have created, greet and Mayur. See, now I'm getting a form here, okay, because I'm hitting it from my browser. But what about if I'll be going to my REST client, which is Postman? Here I'm hitting the same URL, hit send. It is also saying unauthorized. And here also, whenever we are sending this request, we have to make sure that we are authorized. And to do that, you have to choose inside the authorization, you have to choose the basic auth. You have to go here and you have to enter your username, password. What was that? Maybe I can retype it. Ayur, then Ayur123. You can do send. Now it's saying good evening, Mayur. Okay, because I'm here writing Mayur here. Can I change it one more? Can I say Mohi? Send. Now it's saying good evening, Mohi. Now one fun fact is here is that right now you are doing a basic authentication. You are clicking here basic authentication, and right now the basic authentication is action. Right now you are not doing a form based authentication. You are doing a basic auth. And one more interesting thing here is that you guys can notice right now. Let's go to first the web browser. If I'll go to the web browser, let's say Safari browser, where is that? There you go. Okay, right here. Now you can see, let's say I am entering the credential, IOR123, enter. Now let's say I am logged in, right? And I'm hitting here Mayur. So Mayur is saying good evening, Mayur. Let's say right now if I'm writing hello, now I don't have to log in again, isn't it? Because I'm using a form based authentication. And whenever I'm using a form based authentication, what is happening internally? Where is that developer tool? So web inspector. Okay, can I go to cookies? You can see I got a J session ID, right? I got a session created. I told you, right? This is my session ID. If you go to the client, here also you can see something 8DAB3. Is this the same session ID that I'm having? Cookie, the session ID looks like it's not. What is the new one? Can I go to all the way to down? Can I clear everything? Or maybe I can go to the down and I can check for the session ID that I have been assigned. Maybe I can clear everything and I can simply do a logout. Maybe I can do close this browser and I will open a new private window. Okay, now I'll be hitting that URL, enter, and now it's asking me, it's just helping me to sign in. Now let's go to and observe the console. If I'll go here, where is that session ID? It's 84135, something just like that. Can I go here? Can I open the developer tool? So web inspector, is it the same session ID? Yeah, 84135. You can see the one it is allocating me the same one, 84135. So now it is basically creating a session for me. And for this session, it is also going into the server, and server is tracking through this cookie that, okay, whether the authentication has been done or not. Right now, the authentication has not been done. So if I'm saying here right now, if I'm entering IOR123, sign in, now the authentication happened, right? Now this cookie, as I said, this is going to go back and forth. And as the authentication has already been done, there is an object created behind the scene. I'll be telling you more about that object, but that object name is authentication object. So once you do the login, once the login is successfully done, here in the server, what happens? Behind the scene, Spring Security created a object, and that object is authentication object. This is the interface called authentication. I will be coming back to this particular interface. I'll be explaining you how things work, but this object is getting created, and this object is also getting stored somewhere where it is called as authentication holder. Maybe if you guys are interested, I can show you a diagram, but don't see the diagram and don't get confused. This is some kind of advanced stuff we are talking in the morning batch. But right now, you just forget about all the things which is written here. Now you just imagine something just like this. Maybe I can do what? Maybe I can do something just like this. Just give me a moment. I'll just do something so that you will not be confused. Maybe I can just blur it. Okay, now you can see all these things which are here. Imagine some kind of process happening behind the scene. Right now, whenever you are hitting a request, the request is coming to something called authentication filter. And this authentication filter is basically converting the request that you are having. I mean, whenever you are going here, let's say you are going here and you are doing, let's say, logout. And you are coming here, right? Now here you are entering your username and password. Right now, whenever you do sign in, now from the client, this is a HTTP request, right? Because it's happening over web. Now that request will go to your server. Now that request which is coming to your server, this is your computer, you're hitting the request. Now a filter is there that's called an authentication filter. Now the authentication filter is basically handling your request, and now it is converting your request to an object called authentication object. Right now the authentication object is getting created right here. You can think like, you know, your object is getting created here, and now this object is going from here to here, here to here, here to here, like it's going through some processes. What kind of processes? Forget about that. Just imagine that this object is going like this through all these pages, and at last, once this authentication is approved, this object will be there, like here. There's something called security context. There is something called security context. Once the authentication object is authenticated, once this object, I mean, it will go through different filter. Once it's passed, once the authentication is successful, it will be stored here inside this context. So next time if the request is coming, again this object will not go through all this process, right? So this object will be authenticated only once, and then it will be stored inside the security context. So next time if a request is coming, it does not need to go through all this process. This object can be directly returned to this, that hey, this user is authenticated, or this request which is coming to the server is authenticated. Okay, so that's why you are saying one time only whenever you do sign in. Now basically you can see let's say Mayur great /Mayur. Okay, now I am authenticated, right, whenever I did sign in. But next time whenever I'm hitting the different URL like hello, see, it is not asking me to log in again. Why? Because the login has already been done. If I'm saying bye, it is not again asking me to log in, because this cookie that is using, this is a valid cookie, and this cookie is already been authenticated. And obviously I told you that if the authentication will be done, then again this object do not need to go through, or supposed not to go through all these processes. Directly the object will be here, the authentication object, and it will be returned. And or we can track like, you know, this is a valid request coming in and the user is already authenticated, so no need to ask him to authenticate again. Okay, so this is some kind of high level idea. Don't think about all this name. Don't get confused right now. There is a time I'll be telling you about all these things, but some kind of high level 10,000 feet overview I'm just giving you, just to kind of creating an impression. Okay, forget about it right now. Okay, so
Okay.
now you are saying, yeah.
So Abhilash, so suppose once I sign in, I just went all the URL and I log out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After log out, again I will come back. So
Mm-hmm.
that time, that
Yeah, that time again you will go through the same process.
same
Again you
whole
will go,
process.
yeah, same, yeah, the old process. You have to go through all this process. Only when you are doing, let's say you are first time if you are trying to log in, or if your request is not authenticated, let's say you are hitting a request, right? The
Mm.
request will come from your computer to here. Now once the request come to here, it will go to the authentication filter. Now authentication filter will convert your request to a authentication object. Now this object will pass through different processes, and once it is authenticated successfully, this object will be stored here. Now let's say you are logging out. Obviously this the authentication object will be gone away, right? That object will not be here because you are logging out, so we'll be erasing everything from the object. Your username, password, or any your authority, what kind of roles you have, everything will be removed from that object. So
Okay, so
obviously,
object will be garbage collected, like a simple word.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Next time, again, a new object will be created here. Again, this object will go through all these processes and will come and be stored here inside the security context. Okay. Okay. Let's not go through that thing. Anyhow, I'll be
One more
explaining that.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So currently we are doing two authentication. Basic we are seeing two authentication. One is basic authentication. Another one is form authentication. In
Exactly.
form authentication, we can see the form
Yes.
because on browser, so we see.
Yes.
But do you think so do you have any differences like a
Yes.
basic and form?
Yes, I'll be telling you. I'll be telling you. I'm just coming back to that, Anu, right now. So right now, I told you one thing. Whenever you are hitting it in the browser, whenever you are hitting this URL in the browser itself, basically, do I have it correct? Not found. Okay, I have not logged out. So can I do log out? Enter. Okay, now I'm logged out, right? So now this is what I call a form based authentication because I'm seeing a form. Basic authentication need to see basic authentication. If you go to the REST, this is a REST client, right? So by default, I told you one thing. Spring Security is activating two kind of authentication for us. One is form based authentication, one is basic authentication. So whenever you are hitting this URL, let's say I'm hitting this URL /greet/mohi, and whenever I'm doing send, now here I'm doing a basic authentication. See, authorization type I have used it basic auth. So right now what is happening, if we'll go to the header maybe, but we will be seeing that, okay, this is the basic authentication one. And if you're going to click on the header, you can see the authorization type. I mean, whenever we are sending this request, you can see in the header that we are having key as authorization, and the type that we are having, the type of authorization we are doing right now is the basic authentication, right? So basically, when this request basically comes from a REST client, Spring Security is smart enough to figure out whether the request is coming from a web browser or from a REST client. If it is coming from a REST client, then it will be using basic authentication. If the request will be coming from a web browser, just like this, it will be using a form based authentication. But now an interesting thing here. Okay, first of all, tell me where Spring MBC is doing this magic right now. So if anybody remember from the morning batch where Spring Security is basically doing all this magic? If I'll go to my Spring Security config, I have this much code, right? I have not set off any form kind of thing. I have not taken control. Spring Security by default activating two filters for me. You can see that two filters. One is called username password authentication filter, which is basically helpful for form based login. And one more, we are having basic authentication filter, which is helpful for basic base 64, or what we say, basic authentication, right? But we have not, I mean, where Spring Security is actually configuring this thing. I mean, I have not coded that one. How I am able to see that particular form? Any answer to that?
I don't remember exactly what say user details in interface.
Mayur, do you remember?
No, sir.
Okay, so basically in the Spring Security configure, yeah.
Tab, we have the implementation.
Where Karthik? Karthik, I mean, I cannot hear you properly. Can you come again if you are there?
Yeah, it's a configure. There is a configure method
Adapter.
in the web
Exactly.
configure.
Exactly. Yes. So guys, I told you, right? If I'll go to here, anybody else know, like Mohi or Dilip or anyone else? You guys know about this thing, like where they're configuring this particular form-based login, or I mean basic authentication login? Any idea? Dilip?
No, Abhilash.
Okay, okay, okay. So let me do that. I can go to web security configure adapter. See here, my security config is basically extending the web security configure adapter, right? If I'll go here now, if I do control O, okay, you can see there are a lot of methods, right? And all this magic is happening just right here only, right? Now, if we can do control O and if we can hit configure, and you can see we have 3 configure method. This one we have used to set up our user inside the in memory. But right now we have few more. I can go to this one, which takes a HTTP security edge and argument. Okay, it's basically taking HTTP request, whatever we are getting. I mean, it is filtering that thing. Maybe we can go there. Now, if I will, zoom this, now you can see some magic is happening here. Now, this reference is HTTP. Now it is saying HTTP dot authorize request any request. What it does mean that any HTTP request is coming to my browser, or sorry, any HTTP request coming from the browser to my server, make it authenticated. Okay, now these are some methods. Maybe we could have write the same thing in the XML, but if you'll be writing Java code, you can use some chain of methods just like this. No need to memorize this thing. Just do dot and do control space. You will be getting the suggestion. If you'll be coded for 2-3 times, you'll be remembering that. But anyhow, here is that HTTP request, any HTTP request coming, HTTP the authorized request, authorize the HTTP request, any request coming to my web server, make it authenticated. When you write authenticated, now it is saying any request coming to your website, make it authenticated. Right now, that's why every URL that you are having in your application, every endpoints that we are having right now, all the endpoints are protected. Okay, and it is saying that, okay, to protect these endpoints, do a form login or a HTTP basic. So now it is using two kind of approaches, or two kinds of authentication we can do. One is called a form login. This, because of this form login, you are seeing this particular form right here. And one more you are doing HTTP basic. Because of this HTTP basic, you are able to do a basic authentication. Okay, so right now this is the default implementation provided, and actually the implementation provided right here inside where, inside this method, inside this class. Which class is that? Web security configure adapter. Okay, so right now, anyhow, if I close this, right here we are extending to web security configure adapter. So anyhow, the code flow is going there. But hold on, I don't want that. I don't want my code flow to go there. So I can do one thing. I can write configure, enter, and there we go. I'll be able to override this particular method. You can see override the method that is available there inside that class. Override it. Now here I can I can say that, okay, I don't want to use the form login, right? I'll be using the base authentication or the basic authentication. So I'll be doing what? From this HTTP, I'll say HTTP dot authorize request, then any request, okay, any request coming to my website, just or my server, just make it authenticated. So dot authenticated. Now there you go. Now it is going to protect all your URLs right now. A filter will be stand just in front of your dispatcher servlet. So before before the URL will hit your dispatcher servlet, that will be hit your that will be hitting the filter right now, the Spring Security filter chain. Right now, these filters will come into the picture, and right now the request need to go through either. The request will go through which one? I just need to define. Now, I'm saying that any request coming to my website, make it authenticated. But how you are going to authenticate it, right? So I can say and authenticate it. Maybe I can say dot and, okay, authenticate it by using HTTP basic. Okay, right now I'm saying that any request coming to my website, make it authenticated by using the HTTP basic. That means the basic authentication, right? I don't want to use the form based authentication or things like that. Can I do Control S? If I'll do it right now, I have overridden the implementation right here. Now let's see what is going to happen if I am going to, let's do one more, guys. Let me stop the server, maybe start the server again, and let's see what is going to happen. So right now, one crazy thing you will see right now. First of all, let me go there and let me hit the URL, enter, and there you go. Right now, it is not giving any form to you. It's giving some kind of things like this. Maybe I can copy this. Okay, you are seeing the form, right? What I can do, I can close this. I can open this again. New private window. Open this, enter this URL. There you go. Now it is not giving you a form. It is asking you to do a basic authentication. Okay, and you will be seeing here in the filter right now. See, there are few filters missed. One filter is missed, that the other filter that we used to have to authenticate, because right now we don't have any form, right? We are not doing any form based authentication. That's why we are only having basic authentication filter right now. The previous one that we used to have, the other filter for the form, that is gone, because here I am saying that, okay, only do the HTTP basic kind of authentication. So there is no need to have that filter in. So from the Spring Security filter chain, that filter is gone. Okay, now we are only having this filter. Now this filter, basic authentication filter, is right now do the work. Can I go to that? Can I? Okay, also let me do one work. Can I go to develop? And can I hit this so web inspector? And let's do one thing. If I click on cookie, or I just want to click on network. So, okay, anyhow, enter. There you go. Okay, let me do a cancel. If I do a cancel, if you click on this request, headers. Okay, so now if we see the headers, now we should be having something called what is the, so it's saying 401 unauthenticated, because I did a cancel, right? Right now my request is unauthenticated, so it's saying 401 unauthenticated. There is already a cookie got created, but where is that authentication type or authorization type? Something just like this. See here, the last one, basic, and here it is saying that, okay, the server, this request is going to the server. Whenever I do enter, the request is going to the server. The server is giving me this pop-up, right? So if I do cancel, obviously the request will be, it will be unauthenticated. If I do cancel, obviously you can see it's red right now, and we got the error code as 401, because obviously we did cancel the login. And if we'll go here, the type of login, now www authenticate, you can see this is called basic authentication. Right now, if I will be providing, let's say Ayur, and my password was Ayur123. If I do login, now see I'm authenticated. So it's giving 404, and here because there is no URL, no page found for this, but this is a different error, 404. But anyhow, we have logged in, right? And if we'll go here, you can see that see authorization. Now what kind of authorization we have done? Are you guys seeing this one? Is it visible? This is you guys can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you can see the authorization has been done, and the user has done a basic authorization type, right? So basic authentication we have done, and it is encoding our username password. You can see that just like this. But do not think that this cannot be revertable. I think I just told about this thing some days before, maybe in the weekend batch. I don't remember, but anyhow.
Morning batch. Morning batch.
Morning batch. Okay,
Yeah.
this is your authentication type. Maybe what you can do, you can go to for decoder. Okay, click on the first link. Now enter that whatever I copied from there, or from there, or from the other tab, right from here. Okay, where was that? There you go, this one. Okay, now this one I have just copied from the authorization attribute. Now if I'll go here, and if you'll do decode, you can see my username and password is just right here. So that's why I said basic authentication is not at all acceptable. Okay, this is one kind of simplest type of authentication that we can do, but try avoid it. But yeah, if this is for an internal project or things like that, it is acceptable, but it is never acceptable for a production standard. Maybe I'll just tell you about that later, but let's not discuss about that. But anyhow, you can see that from the URL only I'm able to break the username and password for my user, which is really not I mean, this is not good. From this one, if I'll be go reverse, that means you can understand that how much secure is this. Okay, so basically this is all about the basic authentication. Now if you now again, one more thing I told you, whenever you are doing a basic authentication, maybe I can go back to here. Whenever you are doing a basic authentication, you can see the J session ID is here. If you are going to remove that cookie, if you are going to delete that cookie, obviously if the authentication, even right now I told you, right, I'm already authenticated, so you can hit hello. You don't need to authenticate again because it's already been done. You can write greet Mayur, all it's already done, right? As you can see, it's all green. And if I'll do maybe one more was bye, this is also going to work. This is working because of that cookie that we have. Okay, because of the cookie that we have created. And if you're hitting the same request from in your REST right now, let's say I have a request here, greet Mohi. I have to go to the authorization. Here I have to provide my username and password. I'm using best authentication type. You do a send, go to the body. Now here it is saying good evening Mohi, right? So next time if I'm going to choose to no auth, let's see what is going to happen. If I do send, see, still I'm saying good evening Mohi because I'm already authenticated. Now if I'm going to hit let's say something hello, send, I'm getting the result. Maybe bye, I'm also getting the result. All right, to see that I'm not authenticated. Okay, I'm using right now, I've turned off the authentication, but still it is working. Why? Because you can see inside the cookie we got a cookie created. If you're going to delete this, it is not going to work. Okay, again it is going to ask you to authenticate, or you will be getting a 401 unauthenticated error, not 200. Okay, because of this cookie going through the request, this cookie is already authenticated, and that's why you are able to log in, I mean, without having any problem. Making sense, guys, so far? I want to hear yes, no.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Dilip, making sense? Mayur?
Yes, sir. Yes, Abhilash.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, so let's go for the next stuff. Okay, how much time we have more? Maybe I can go for 10-15 minutes more. Okay, let's do some fancy stuff right now. Okay, I will not go so deep right now. Let's say right now, okay, so I'm able to authenticate the request. I'm doing every request coming to my server, make it authenticated. That's why if I want to make it authenticated, then obviously, I have to say that, okay, which form I want to authenticate. If you want to also use the form login, then you can just do dot form login dot end. Okay, and you can use both form login right now and HTTP basic. Okay, so right now if you are going to do Control S, maybe I can stop the server. Spring MVC got an issue. I'll be telling you that later. Maybe sometime it will cause problem, but I will just start the server again. Now, same thing, guys, we'll be having the same thing in the boot. something will be auto configured. At that time it will be very easy for you guys, right? So have the basic foundation from here only. While learning in boot, you'll be just complete everything within 30 minutes, right? Anyhow, because this stuff will be auto configured, something will be auto configured. We have to create these classes, we have to do it by ourselves. There is no magic in the boot. But the first time, if you are having Spring security jar in your class path in Spring Boot, then the initial configuration that we have done by creating this configuration file and initializer, this is not required. But yes, again, nobody will stay with the default, right? You have to create your configuration file, just like my security config file, the one that I have created. So obviously at that time you will be needing all these things again. So very important, focus right now on this thing because you already know how Spring MVC works, right? Cool. So right now I have added form login and HTTP basic. Let's do one work. Can I go to my browser again? I think this guy is already logged in, right? Not found. See, I have already started my server, but still this guy is already logged in, right? This is not good. But this issue will not be happen in the production. This is only a issue in the dev. Okay, so nothing to be worried about it. So I can write logout right now first, and let me logged out and see right now. Right now, if I want to hit any URL, let's say slash what we say that. Let's say slash greet and Mayur. Have I logged in already? Can I do log out?
No, in Safari you were facing these issues in beginning also. So you chosen Mozilla.
No, I have choose Safari, I think. Okay, let me try this one. Sign in. Something here. Sign in. Bad credential. Okay. Now let me go for Mayur and Mayur 123. Sign in. Oh, sorry. This is Ayur, right? Ayur 123. Sign in. Okay. Now I'm logged in. Now can I do greet and Mayur? Okay, I'm done, right? So now the thing is that now you just see that I have used the form based authentication right now. But previously, whenever I was hitting that request, I used to get that basic authentication pop-up. I was not getting the form based authentication pop-up. Just now, right now, I have activated the form login, and whenever I'm hitting this request from a browser, now my server can detect that okay, the request is coming from a REST client or some Java code I have written by using REST template or something just like that. Either a program is calling it or either a web browser, from the web browser I'm hitting it. Now here I'm hitting it from the web browser. Okay, so the form based login is right now in action. Now can I go there and you can see the username password authentication filter is back because of this guy that I have written here. And also same thing, if you're going to hit this request from maybe from a postman from here, then obviously you have to do a basic authentication, right? So you have to go to the authorization tab, click on here, basic auth, and provide your password, and maybe you can do update. We'll know how to work with JWT auth and things like that, but let's stick to the basic for now. Okay, one more thing, maybe quickly I can cover. Let's say right now I do not want, let's say right now on Sunday I want my site to be on maintenance, and I do not want any of the user to access any of the URL in my site. At that time, instead of saying authenticated, you can just use one more thing called denyAll. Right now, what will happen, even though you have the correct username and password, right now you'll be denying all the requests which is coming to your server. Right now, let's say today is Sunday, I will be going for a maintenance and I don't want anyone to access any of the URL, even though they are registered, even though they have a valid username and password with them. So for that, right now if we'll go to here, maybe to Safari, where is that? Okay, now if I hit this one, now see 401 forbidden. And now you see the funny error that we are getting. The server understood the request. That means, well, you have sent all the valid information, but the request refuses to authorize it and is saying that, okay, it's a 403 forbidden because I have told that, okay, do not accept any URL by writing this piece of code called any request coming to my server, deny it. Okay, so now if you are going to hit any of the URL, now from here also you can try hitting it, send. Now you'll be getting a 403 forbidden unauthorized access. Maybe you can click on, yeah, preview is not coming, right? Okay, no problem. So it's saying that you can see that it's 403 forbidden. Maybe I can try with hello. This is also going to be a 403 forbidden. I can also try with greet and Mayur. This is also going to say 403 forbidden because I have denied all the requests. If I want to permit everything, just write here permit all. Instead of saying deny all, I can say any request coming to my website, permit everything. Okay, now if we'll do Control S, right now I can see if I'll go there, maybe I can go to my web browser to test it, and maybe I can go to Safari browser, that one I was using. Okay, there you go. Right now if I'm going to hit this one, I'm saying it's saying good evening Mayur. If I'm going to hit any request right now, right, if I'm going to hit hello, I'm able to access that. If I'm going to say bye, I'm able to access that. So all the URLs are now permitted because of this guy, permitAll, because I'm permitting every request. But hold on, this will never be the case, right? I mean, imagine in your website, let's say right now, if I'll go to Safari, let me go to my website. Okay, if I'll go to any website right now, see, imagine to access the live course page, okay, or to access the contact us page, or I mean things like that. Let's say someone, if someone want to go to the contact page, right? To access the contact page, do he need to log in? Not at all. So this URL, Selenium Express /contact, I should not restrict the user to access this one. But what about someone go for a video course, okay, and someone is trying to go for, let's say, something right here, maybe a Spring MVC, he's clicking here. Now, if he is trying to access this content, no, you cannot access this URL, right? Because you are right now you are not logged in. To access this URL, you have to log in first, okay? So this URL is a secured URL, but the other URL, the contact one that I have, is not a secured URL. So right now I cannot permit everything or I cannot deny everything. I have to make sure which one I have to give the permission and which URL need to be protected. Okay, so for that we'll be using something else. Okay, and maybe tomorrow, maybe next session I'll be telling you how to permit a particular URL. For now, I'll just make all the URLs authenticated. There you go. Okay, I don't want to break this code right now. Maybe next session I will be saying that how to secure a particular URL and things like that. Okay, so far how much comfortable you guys are? Making sense a little? I have not done anything. I think for the last 3 sessions I'm just telling basics. Yeah, you guys can say that whether it is making sense or not, or you guys are okay or not. Maybe you want me to go fast, slow, things like that. I'm done, man. I'm done, Vinita. You can stop recording if you want.
Yeah. So just one question I was having.
Okay, then don't stop. Okay, yes.
Okay.
Okay, ask me the question.
So in production, when we are going for the deployment, so we need our application to be we need to apply the downtime. So I wanted to I was connecting such that when we are applying the downtime, so at the back end, is it behaving the same way which we are trying to do now, that permit or deny, or it is working the other way? Something else is happening.
See, Vinita, whatever the flow we are discussing right now, and whatever the flow we'll be discussing after this, everything is going to be remain exactly same.
So one quick question. I don't want answer in detail. Just you can say me yes or no. So how we are looking at deny all we did and we are not able to access. So in real time also, does it happen like in most of the time we go, our system is not working?
Based on your requirement or no? If you want, let's say I want on my Sunday, right, for 2 hours, every request coming to my website.
Yeah, it happens. I see system is not working and under enhancement.
Yeah, so they have given you methods. Just up to your choice, like how you are going to use it, right? Let's say you will be using this denyAll method, right? This authenticated one, I'll say denyAll. I can make it some kind of, I can make it dynamic so that, if it is Sunday 2 o'clock, then every request will be coming to my application. Will go through this one denyAll, right? I'll be using some kind of method. I'll be create a kind of scheduler, or I'll be create a kind of corn, and that corn will run in that time, and that, I mean, and by that time this particular method will be called, and it will be denying all the request, right? So yes, it's all up to how you are going to use this particular method. They have given us API methods. It's all up to us, right?
Okay.
Which method will be choosing. And one more thing I have skipped in Spring MVC, just remind me sometime. Will take 1 hour and I'll complete that. That's called interceptor. Anybody know about interceptor? Interceptors, why we use that? Any
I have
idea?
heard about it, but I don't.
A bit of it, like logging in and form. Matlab, it gives the entry to your application, something like that.
Yeah. That's just like a filter only. This is nothing but a filter. If the request will come to the interceptor first, and basically you can use the interceptor. This is also a filter to make the maintenance stuff done also, right? I mean, it's all up to you how you are thinking, maybe how your lead is thinking, or how your architect is thinking, and how is your client is thinking. That's most important. And accordingly, we can use all these features, right? We have so many options to do so many things, but which one we'll be choosing, that's all depends on us, right? We have the API methods. We just can call it, or we have the features like interceptor, filters, things like that. So the call will anyhow coming to those things first, so we can take our action. Let's say I want to take my website to maintenance Sunday 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I can obviously do that right there. Okay, it's all up to me. Cool. So yeah, let's not talk about this thing. Yeah, Mayur.
Yeah. What is the difference between authenticated and permitAll, sir?
Authenticated and permitAll.
Yeah.
Authenticated will authenticate all the requests. If you're saying authenticated is going to authenticate a particular request, not all the requests. If you're saying here authenticated, that means you are saying any request is coming, make it authenticated. You can also say dot and matchers. Okay, I'll just tell you one thing. Authorize request dot and matchers. Then this request, some request, let's say slash something, make it authenticated. That means authenticate this request, right? I mean, right now we are just telling that, okay, this request only authenticate. Then maybe rest of the request I can give permitAll. Maybe I can write any other one. Let's say ant matchers again, and I can give some other URL, and I will make it permitAll. Or this login form, best example I can give you. PermitAll means, for that you don't need to log in. Let's say for the login form, if you want to see the login form, do somebody need to log in to see the login form? Do I need a login? Do I need to authenticate to see the login form? No. Anybody can see the login form without authentication. So I can do .permitAll, right? For the form login, if I have any default URL, just make it available to everyone by writing this permitAll. But if you're writing authenticated, that means this URL should be go through the authentication process. Making sense?
Okay. But if we are using permitAll instead of that authenticated, then for the first request, do we need to
No.
get a login page or not?
No. So right now, if you'll be permitting this particular request, obviously this request will be available without even login form. You will be saying whenever you have to authenticate, isn't it? Let's say this URL does not need an authentication. Why you need to show the login page? Isn't it? Mayur, that is a URL. Yeah. You don't want your user to do login to access that URL. Then why you will show the login form to them? Isn't it? Just show him that content of that particular page directly.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions? Felix, you are silent today. No questions, ma'am. Yash, no question. Revti, Mohi, Dilip.
I had 2 questions, but already asked by Vinita ma'am and Anu ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And I have not given satisfactory answers, and I will be giving on the right time. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ask again.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's why, for initial 5-10 days, it's very difficult because you will have a lot of questions. Whenever I learn also the things, I'll have a lot of questions, but I do not research. Once I complete, then I start researching. Okay, if something is getting skipped. But anyhow, just give me around 7 days more. I'll just give you all the foundation, then go ahead and ask me as many questions as you want. And at that time, I can answer. Okay, and I can just give you references like, okay, do you know that? Do you know this? I mean, you can visit to that particular class or code and you can take the reference. I can give you the reference. Okay, so everything is happening here. The code is written, right? It's not, no magic is happening here. So yeah, I have to show you the code to explain something, but I don't want to show you those code right now. It's as simple as that. Okay, and yeah, showing the code unnecessarily will give you a lot of confusion, so let's not go into that for now. Okay, anyhow, let's stop the discussion right now. Tell me, are you guys planning for tomorrow class?
Yes.
Okay, how many yes here?
Sir, can I stop recording?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, please.
Okay.
And if anyone have urgency, you guys also can drop. All right, so this is it for today's session. In the next video, we are again going to talk about some more interesting stuff about Spring Security, and we will be preparing for the war that we will be fighting maybe after 10-15 episodes. So let's get started with the journey of Spring Security. And as I said, as I promised, that we'll be in a journey of zero to hero in Spring Security. So our step-by-step process is working good. Let me know in the comment section if you are liking it, or if you have any other suggestion, just like if you want me to go fast, slow, whatever, just let me know with a comment. And also let me know whether this kind of sessions are helping, or you want me just to write or type code. And also I'm gonna code according to you. I like this approach, but I don't know about you. So you just suggest me that, Abhilash, this can be better. You can try this one. You can try. You can try that way. Keep suggesting, guys. It's your channel. I appreciate all your suggestions and all kind of infos that you give me. So practice it and let me know if you're getting any issues. And yeah, I'll see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye. Take care and happy coding.